Well, hello, boys and girls. It's when we feel like 8 o'clock. I'm Pearl of Wisdom, and you're listening to my NHL Pearls of Wisdom B-Pow addiction. Addiction. I said addiction. Addition. B-Pow edition. We're talking about picks. We're telling you what our picks were, and we're giving you a few leans and stuff like that for our next game. Tomorrow, there's only one game, but there was lots of games over the weekend to talk about. This fellow here, this is Curt Davis. Say hi, Curt Davis. How are you, my friend?
Hello, how are y'all?
Oh, I'm sure they're doing awesome because we're all about the frolic here at Pearl of Wisdom Industries. Curt has been a long time kind of guy that I've bandied picks around for a while with. Way back last year, right, Curt? We used to send picks back and forth, and I've been kind of looking for a guy to fill in a role that the great Brian used to fill. He went off to different pastures, and he came to mind, and I started talking to him, and he seemed interested to start kind of seeing if we can work together on bringing you these fine picks. And I was very happy he said yes, because he's very good at what he does. When we used to do it before, he used to send me stuff, and some of it used to blow me away, and I just realized that he had something special when it came to picks. So I'm glad he came along with us to do this. Of course, you see that he's in the east wing of the Seattle apartment. I'm in the west wing of the Seattle apartment. I picked him up on the Perlocopter, and we're hanging out. So, Curt. You've been doing this quite a long time, right?
Yes. I've been a hockey fan since I was a kid.
Yeah, me too. Love it. You're but you live in the Alabama area?
Correct. In the heart of Alabama, Birmingham.
And originally from Pennsylvania, or were you from Pittsburgh itself?
Pittsburgh itself. 12 miles out of Pittsburgh.
12 miles out of Pittsburgh? Cool. I got my other guys that are on Steel Flyers network. They're from Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, and just around Pittsburgh as well. But they're both Philadelphia Flyers fans, and so am I. So we'll probably have to gang up on you every once in a while.
I'm not sure how that works, being a Pittsburgh fan and a Philly fan. I can't be both.
Well, he's a
back in the old days, and they still carry over.
He's a Steelers fan. That's Steel Flyers. And he's a Philadelphia Flyers fan, which is odd. Yes, definitely no doubt about it. But he's pretty proud of that, and he has his reasons for it. And when you get to know him, he'll tell you all about it. But, okay, so anyways, this past weekend, I'm going to bring up the games here, buddy. Let's look at, we'll give our listeners or viewers kind of an idea of the way we look at picks and why we pick things and all of that. Let me tell you this: I'm kind of gloaty when I hit. I'll tell people and I'll celebrate when I hit. Saturday was the worst day I've ever had, I think, in picks before. It just happens that way. Even you always have great days, but sometimes you have horrible ones, and Saturday was a horrible one. The good news is we're not going to talk about Saturday. Not much to talk about there, yeah. We're going to talk about Sunday's picks, and we'll go down the games, Curt, and you can tell me if you had a play on it or not, and I'll tell you if I had a play on it and why and how we did. We'll start off with the Blackhawks and Red Wings. Did you have a play on that?
No. If I had, I'd have hit both, but I just can't seem to put money on teams that are going nowhere.
Yeah, I had Blackhawks ML on here. I was seriously considered PL, but I'd lost a little bit of confidence after my Saturday. So
it will make you slow down.
Yeah, I'm playing it safe. So, but I like this Lankinen kid. The little bit I've seen him, and I know the Blackhawks have been talking about him a lot. I unlike a lot of people, think that Ballard is his son. The son of Ballard is also a very smart guy and knows his stuff. And the organization knows a lot. Knows a lot about talent. And if they can give up Crawford to work on this Lankinen kid, there was probably something there, and it looks like there is. So.
Oh, yeah. I tell you, I was so frustrated. I have good friends from Chicago. They're diehard Blackhawk fans, and they're so frustrated with the organization and the choices that they're making. It's like they were so excited when they brought in Lanier, and then they let him go, and they just don't understand where they're going.
Yeah.
But I actually talked to them the other day, and I think this kid's going to be the future for them right now.
It looks like it. It looks like he's going to be pretty darn good, at least early on, anyways. They were rebuilding a while ago. That was funny when Taves, came out and said, I didn't know we were rebuilding. And I did a video and I said, well, you should fire your agent then, because somebody should have been telling you they're rebuilding this. I don't expect it to be obvious to players, because players just don't think that way. They just think about winning every game. They're not thinking about whether, unless it's brutally obvious. But it was getting pretty obvious that Chicago was rebuilding the last couple of years. They were bringing in young players, and they were just using these great leaders to help build those guys. So anyways, that's what happened there. And I agree with you. Chicago and the Red Wings are not going to make the playoffs this year. But the Red Wings also had Fabry was out, and Merrill on defense. And they don't have much to replace those guys. So even with any injuries for Detroit, their team is not very good. Plus, they were on the road. So I like the Hawks there in that game. But, okay, I didn't have a play on this because, I think my Saturday really took my risk out of me. I liked the Sabres ML, but you actually did pick the Sabres ML, didn't you?
Well, I sent you that pick. I actually only played the over on the game. But I definitely liked Allmark, but it jumped up to like minus 130, and it was just a little too rich for me to bet an away team that doesn't have much luck in Washington to pull the trigger on that. But I did like them, and I sent you that I liked them.
Yeah, and you took.
It wasn't a top pick.
Yeah, and you took the over on that, which I really should have pulled the trigger on myself. The thing with the over on that is I liked the way I wanted to see a little more of Vanacek, because I kind of saw I hadn't really figured out which way he was going to go yet. He still played very well though, actually, because the Sabres outshot them significantly. And I think that bodes well for future picks for me for the Sabres. I think Ralph Kruger's message might be getting through with these guys, and we could see some surprises from them in the future coming up here. So,
not definitely looking for goalies when you're going with Buffalo. Allmark, I really like. He's definitely their best goalie.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I don't know how good he's going to be yet, but that defense still scares me. They don't really, like having Miller in there, and Dahlin is good, but Ristolainen's looked probably the best he's looked in his career this year. So it's better, but it's still not great. But anyways, that was an interesting that you said that had that over. I leaned the over too, but I didn't pull the trigger on it. So the next game, we both had something. I don't know if you played it, but we both had I did play it. Maple Leafs versus Flames. What were you thinking about that game?
Wrong. I thought it'd go over. I was kind of shocked that it didn't.
Oh, you had the over on that. Okay.
I did.
Didn't you?
I didn't have the side.
You weren't leaning the side at all? Okay, well, we are both wrong for different reasons. The Maple Leafs were playing a crap load of games. I think they played 7 games in 10 nights, or 7 games, something like that. Uh, Not to mention, they flew to Calgary, I believe, from Toronto, I believe, if I remember correctly. So that's quite the flight. Really, the Flames, when I did my thing, I said the Flames, this is a must win for the Flames in a lot of ways because the season's short and these games where you come up against tired teams, like good teams like Toronto, you got to capitalize on that in this division, right? Like if you're not capitalizing on when the Toronto Maple Leafs are tired, then you're probably not going to capitalize them when they're not. So it's a really big judge of where your team's at. And the Flames failed, and I thought they wouldn't. I thought the Flames would take it, and I had them on the ML, but I was wrong. I'll tell you what, I'm really impressed.
I actually made a mistake telling you. I actually had Cal as a top pick. I did not touch the over under, but I was leaning the over.
Okay.
But I actually had Cal in that game.
Yeah.
Toronto has just been a nemesis to me. It's like I go against them, they win, and when I go with them, they lose.
Yeah, well, they have had a tendency in the past to be inconsistent, so that probably is why that is. But this year, so far, out of tired teams, and I think tired teams are going to make a break. They're going to be the ones that make it. The teams that can play tired. And Toronto has looked the best out of tired teams so far. Even better than Colorado, who's just played tired against a few teams that they, probably could beat, although they did outplay Anaheim, and Gibson is amazing. But we'll get that when we get there, I guess. But anyways.
Since you brought that up, without having the preseason and the workouts that they normally have, do you feel like everybody's got their legs under them now, or do you still think that's an issue and that's contributing to the high scoring?
I think that it is an issue for all the teams, for sure. But this really tests the heart of teams right now. Maybe youth is an advantage right now because they just have those a little more youthful legs that don't need to be wound up as much, which is why probably Toronto is doing so well right now because their core is very young. So, yeah, maybe I would say that is a problem, but I do think it's an issue. And maybe as we go through these and we see the teams that are struggling, that'll kind of show us that'll show consistency. But I think it does have an issue. But how is it an issue? It's sort of fun to watch and learn from it. I'm learning from it because this is all new, right?
It's new to everybody.
Yeah. So Golden Knights versus the Coyote. I think you had the Coyote plus 1.5, right?
I did.
Nice one, buddy. That's just Kemper and Talkett's system keeping them in games. It's like just the same as they did last year. Is that why you're going with that?
I think it's becoming one of the newer rivalries in hockey, Arizona and Vegas.
Okay.
I think there's some what's the word I want? Feistiness between the two of them, and it just seems like Arizona gives Vegas everything that they can handle every time they play them, and when they are at home, I definitely give them the edge to at least play it close.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good point. Coyotes, just that Talkett system is becoming one of those legendary defensive systems in the same mold as Barry Trotz. It doesn't seem to matter what they have on the ice. That's a sign of an incredibly good defensive system. But this is one of those games where I couldn't pull the trigger on the Knights ML here because I thought it was going to be close like you. And I don't know why I didn't think about the PL for Golden Knights, except the juice wouldn't have been great. But I could have tossed it in a parlay if I wanted to.
I in the under on that too, and I didn't touch it. I was a little nervous on that because they played again, like you were talking. everybody's tired. They're playing a lot of games right now, um, and so I couldn't pull the under on that. But uh, definitely, it was an interesting series.
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, and this is why I like talking to good cappers like you before I make picks, because if I talked it through, if I thought the Golden Knights were going to win, if I was leaning the Golden Knights, but I wasn't sure, I probably should have leaned the under, because if the Golden Knights are going to win, it probably is going to be an over, because they're probably going to break through the Coyotes somehow, right? So, and if they do happen to break through that defense, like they have, if the Yotes aren't playing their defense perfect, which pretty much they have to do to beat a team like the Knights, then they'll probably open up the floodgates and pot quite a few. So, yeah, that's something I'm going to think about in the future. So, okay, I didn't have a play on that. You had the +1, so we did well on that one. We had the Devils versus the Islanders, and I'll send it to you because I have something to say about this, but I don't want to say about it right now. Did you have anything on that?
Yeah, that was actually my favorite pick of the day. I had the under on the game. I like the Islanders in it, and actually had them in one of my parlays, but it lost. Blackwood, just for whatever reason, I wasn't a fan of his when they brought him back up. He had one of the worst records before they brought him back up. But I'll tell you what, since they brought him back up, he's starting to make a believer out of me. He's been very impressive since he's made his second, because, they brought him up and he did terrible. They sent him back down. He actually did terrible down there, and they bring him back up. And since then, he's been golden.
Oh, you mean Wedgwood? You mean Wedgwood? Because they put Wedgwood in today, right?
Oh, was it Wedgwood?
Yeah.
Okay, see, there's another issue. Too many of these games, I'm not even getting the goalies confirmation before the game.
Yeah, they had Wedgwood last game in this game because Blackwood's on COVID. But I've always liked Blackwood, but I know what you mean. Like, he kind of came out of nowhere. He struggled a little bit before he got good. But yeah, this is the reason why I had the Islanders in this game. And I watched this game, and it was the first time I saw the Islanders look like it's the first time they look tired. The Islanders can be tired but not look tired because of their system. It was the first time I saw the Islanders actually look tired. But because with Wedgwood in net, the Islanders should win this game fairly handily. And it frustrated me. It also frustrated me, like you, I didn't pull the trigger on the under on this game. Because if I was afraid, I thought the floodgates would open with Wedgwood, right? Wedgwood has been a minor leaguer his whole career. He's never really had great numbers. And here he comes out. Who's going to think he's going to shut out the Islanders? Right?
You brought up a valuable something to consider is you said the Islanders look tired. And another contributing factor is, in my opinion, they're one of the most physical teams out there.
Yeah.
So if you add physical on top of being tired, then that opens the door for backing covers and a dog to win it.
Yeah, and talking about you talked about goaltenders and not getting our goaltending confirmations in time. Sorokin was in net for the Islanders, which is a rookie goaltender that I really like, but it's still a rookie goaltender. And if I would have known, I might have changed my mind on that. If Varlamov was in, I think they have a lot better chance. And the reason why they maybe looked a little tired or disheveled was because they're not used to playing in front of this kid, right? But that being said, the Islanders usually are so consistent defensively and in their system. And this year, in this game, they were losing. They were losing not just battles; they were getting beat to the puck. And when do you ever see the Islanders get beat to the puck?
Not often. They're the most. In my opinion, they are probably one of the best disciplined teams and one of the best coached teams in the NHL.
Absolutely. Uh, I guess something to look for in the future because they did lose Boychuk and Taves in the off season on defense. And, some of these guys might be playing more than they've ever played and not used to it and tired, like Dobson, the rookie. So it's going to be something to think about with future picks for sure. So let's go to the big. This one I went back and forth on, and I never did put a play on. I probably would have put this play on, but when I saw what your play was, I really liked it, and it came through for you. I think on the line, anyways. That was Rangers and Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
You had.
Well, I'm a diehard Pittsburgh fan, and when I had my group in sight, I always warned everybody, it don't necessarily go with my Pittsburgh picks all the time because that's where my heart is. But I'm also smart too, and I love that goalie for the Rangers, and I'm not a fan of Jari's like I was Murray or Fleury, but I definitely thought it was going to be a close game. I was absolutely shocked it didn't go over, but I can see why. And it's because of that goalie. He played them tough. They didn't win it, but they covered the puck line, and that's all I need them to do. Sometimes you don't have to pick a winner. You just got to cover the line like in football.
Yeah. The line, again, now looking back, like I said, I think my confidence was a little shaken from taking a whooping on Saturday. And because normally I probably would have played Rangers PL and that Capitals PL or something like that, or sorry, the Coyotes PL, and put that in a parlay. That would have been something I know.
We were talking about trends earlier. One thing to always keep in mind, even if I give out trends and stuff, trends are meant to be broke, just like records are meant to be broke.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, today's game was only the second time in 12 meetings between these two it has gone under. So,
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, I like using trends and then applying it to my thinking. You know what I mean? I don't rely heavily on trends, but I basically, so far this year, I've been kind of not having trends because it's not what my forte. After Brian left BPOW, I haven't really had that, so I thought I'd try it without it, and I'm realizing that I'm much better with it. So I'm glad I have you. you can give me these great trends, and we can apply it to each other's way of thinking. So the next game, by the way, I was leaning the Penguins in this game simply because of why the Rangers just don't seem to have that killer instinct yet. That's really what they're missing right now. And I like their team overall, but that's the youth, right? And I don't know where they're going to find it, but they have to find it they're going to eventually have to find it. I thought they would have found it a little more this year. And the Penguins do. That's the thing. The Penguins don't have the best team on paper, but you don't lose that killer instinct from their core. So,
and you bring that up, and they're one of the teams out there that is probably one of the for years and one of the streakiest teams. And I'm a strong believer. If you get on the beginning of a streak on some of these certain teams, you can ride them for quite a while. And Penguins might be one of them.
Maybe, yeah.
It's definitely something to keep an eye on and look at how Vegas adjusts the lines in the future games coming up.
Yeah, I definitely will. Did the Rangers outshoot the Penguins this game?
I can tell you in a second. Hold
on. I should be able to bring it up here now, but it won't come up for me for some reason. Sometimes when I have my OBS, it doesn't come up very well.
I'll pull it up for you in a second. Hold on 1 second.
I can probably do it too. I'll go back and forward again. Okay, I got it. I got it. Yes, they
Um,
did. Rangers did outshoot them. The Rangers outshot them 26-19.
yep.
So again, Shesterkin, I don't know, I didn't get to watch the game all that much, but Shesterkin's looked a little shaky to start out. Jari hasn't been knocking it out of the park, but he did stop enough for them to win. So that's interesting. We'll definitely take a look at that as we're moving
Well, and I
forward.
think there's going to be some pressure on Jari. If he doesn't start cleaning it up, I think he's going to lose some ice time.
Yeah, well, they're probably going to have to play DeSmith a lot more anyways this year because of the way the back to backs are and all the games that are being played. So they're going to be relying on DeSmith anyways. And if that door opens and DeSmith takes it away from him, then I guess he does. We'll see how that goes. But now the game, the next.
Actually, this is actually going to be a year of backup goalies because of what you just said.
Yeah.
The way they've set up these games, and it's almost like mini playoff series. I think it's a completely different atmosphere and everything, the way everything's set up. But the backups are going to be used a lot more this year, I think, than in past years.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely, no doubt about it. Next game, you got the Avalanche and the Ducks. The Avalanche completely dominated them shot-wise, but lost 3-1. I've been toting Gibson. I fade a lot of Ducks games. I've been touting Gibson as the best goaltender in the league for quite some time. Him or Kemper. I love Vasilevsky, but I think Gibson might be the best in the league. And it's nights like this where I say this is why I think that. You had a little play on this, but it didn't work out for you.
I didn't have a play on it. I just gave you my opinion on it. I didn't. I couldn't get a goalie confirmation in time, so I didn't play it. And to be honest, I was too wrapped up watching the NFL playoffs, so I didn't get to play that one.
Okay, I didn't put anything in on it either. I will admit I was leaning Avalanche, but
Me too.
they had played. I think it was 4 games in 6 nights again, right? And I don't like to play any team against an NHL team, even if it's the Avalanche. 4 games in 6 nights, and I know that.
Believe it or not, as far as trends, Anaheim has had Colorado's numbers the last few years.
Oh, there you go. Maybe I subconsciously knew that, but again, if I was more confident in myself, because I just, like I said, I took that those bad beats, I might have taken the Ducks PL on this because of 4 games in 6 nights. Even if the Avalanche do outshoot them, there's Gibson back there, and if they're tired like they should be, there's not going to be the same sting on those shots, right?
I agree.
Yeah, so I would have probably did that. Now, here's the one that frustrates me. I had the Kings last night, PL, against the Blues. And the Blues scored with 0.4 seconds left in an empty netter. Don't we all love those? To knock it out. And then I faded today, although I know if I'm in my more confident state, I definitely take Kings PL again. I go right back at it because I love the way the Kings are playing. But did you have something on here? Didn't you have the over on this game?
I had the over on the game.
There you go.
I'm trying to think. I was going to tell you why. St. Louis had their backup in there. I really don't know much about him, to be honest. But what little I could find out on him, I didn't like. So that's, if you look on paper, just think about it. Oh, of course, St. Louis is going to beat the Kings, especially at home. But when I have a goalie I don't know anything about or know enough about, I usually can't play a side, but I will look at totals when I have someone in there that I don't know nothing about.
Yeah, that's right. yeah,
What's his name, Huso or something like
who's
that?
yeah, Ville Huso. Yeah, it's a lot to ask for a kid. I'm very concerned for the Blues for rolling with that kid in this year because of what we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
We just talked about that, right? Now with Chicago, they're sort of doing the same thing with Lankinen, but Lankinen showed better numbers in Finland. Huso didn't really look that great in the AHL, so it was a dangerous year to be rolling with that kid, and I liked that over there when I saw it. And again, so that was a nice pick. We'll go with the Sharks and Wild. I lost this one, and I shouldn't. I shouldn't have because I thought the Wild were going to win this for sure. I liked the way the Wild were playing. Sharks have poor defense. The Wild has the type of game that can rip that defense apart, but they didn't look. Their second period, they just stopped being the Wild, and that really is what screwed them in this game. What did I think? Did you have anything on this?
Yeah, I lost on both ends. I'll be honest. I liked Minnesota and I liked the under. Minnesota 11-5 at home in the series. The under's 5-1.
Yeah.
I didn't have a confirmation on goalies, and
Kaukinen.
what it's going to be. Forgot who was in there.
Kukkonen was in net for the Wild, and he's another young kid that looks really good, but I wouldn't say he had a bad night. I just think the Wild didn't play their normal defense. But if I were to have gotten anything, I probably would have went to the over here. But here's my thing, which again, the goaltending issue is really a problem. It was showing Dubnyk was going to be in for almost all day. And then I go watch the game, and Jones is in for the Sharks. Now, I don't think I lean to the ML on. I probably fade this game if Jones is in. The Wild have been playing quite a bit. The Sharks were on the road for quite a while too, though. I probably still would have played it, maybe, but I wouldn't have been as confident about it as I was if Dubnyk was in that. So, whatever. We were both incorrect about that.
It wasn't a huge play or nothing, and I actually had it in both of them in a parlay with some other stuff, and of course that game cost me the parlay. But and a lot of times that's what I'll do. If there's some games I want to play, but I'm not 100% confident, I'll group it into a parlay, and heck, if I hit it, it's a good payout. I think I was getting 15-1 odds on the parlay as a 5-team parlay I did, and hit the other three, and that game just totally screwed it all up. But it's all good. Stuff like that happens.
Yeah, that's what happens when you're gambling. Hopefully you're not gambling too often. You actually have confidence in your picks, but it happens. Of course. Stars versus Predators, I had a play on here. I had the ML for the Stars. The Predators just look poopy to me.
Well, I didn't get to watch either of the games. It's normally a good series. I was totally shocked when the Stars played their first game. I figured they'd have rust and everything. I had the over on the game yesterday, and but I was all over Nashville actually because I didn't think the Stars would have a lot of rust problems and everything. So I stayed off the game today. I knew it'd be a lot closer than yesterday, but from everything I've seen and the highlights I've seen, the Stars definitely look like they want to get back to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. Not Stan Bowman, but Rick Bowness is really putting his stamp on this team. And, he's a veteran coach that's been around for a long time, and he's finally got an opportunity to do it his way. And I really like his way. He's doing things very well there for the Stars. You can just guess what I had since I told you about my Saturday, what I had yesterday. I had an under on this game, on the Stars game. So I missed it, but I did have this one ML. Okay, Oilers versus Jets. I don't think you had a play on this, or did you?
I did, and I did two different parlays, and this one pulled through for me. Is the Minnesota is the one that cost me, but I had the over. That's all I had. I sent an opinion that I like the Winnipeg, but I wasn't confident enough to pull each side. When you got that much firepower on both teams, the only way I felt like you could go in that game was just the over. And that I think you were leaning under though, weren't you?
I kind of leaned under, but I wouldn't be surprised by the over too because Koskinen's played every game for the Oilers pretty much this year. He can. That's pretty hard on a goaltender, and Brissois is in there. The reason why I was kind of leaning the under is the Jets should be extremely tired, and Brissois has probably had his best so far outings this year that I've ever seen him play. But I could easily have seen him go in the tank again. And
this is one of the games where I do pay attention to a trend, and I think I talked to you about it earlier today when we talked. One of the things that just really stuck out that really sold me on the over is, and you just brought it up, was the tiredness. And the over in this series is 6-1 on no rest.
Oh,
and
wow.
That stood out to me a lot. So that's definitely is one of those unusual sidetrack trends that you look at when you put a variable like no rest in there.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. See, that's why I should have. Anyways, I had the Oilers ML, and I wrote in my Patreon. By the way, everybody go to BPAL Picks, check out our Patreon. You get to have fine picks from this kind of knowledgeable people that do very well, and people make lots of money. But I had the Oilers because this was like a must win for them. They got to be beating a tired Jets team in this situation, especially with their backup goaltender, especially with the way they played so far this year. Like this, if you're going to be a team that's relevant this year in the Canadian division, you got to be winning these games. You got to be. The Jets should have been super tired. I thought the Oilers would beat them more. In fact, I'm still not confident in the Oilers after this game because in the third period, they sat back in a trap against a tired Jets team with their lineup that's built for run and gun. Why would you do that? Play your game. You play your game, right? So I didn't like it, but they did end up winning, and that's what works for us. So
now, but you're a big Oilers fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm an Oilers Philly fan. Yeah.
Right. So I was reading somewhere, and maybe you could touch on it. I think one of the aggravating things from the Edmonton fans is the coaching doesn't seem to be doing any kind of consistency as far as the lines. He keeps changing up, and it's almost like the players can't get used to each other on the lines. Is that correct, or did I just read that?
Dave Tippett has always been a line shuffler. He always has been. He was the same in Arizona. And his reasoning for that is he wants his team to be prepared for anything. So he wants everybody to be able to play with everybody, and he believes that a cup team has to have that advantage. It's a huge advantage. So he prepares his people to play with different people, and he has a system for everybody that changes with when you play. So if he puts Cassian on McDavid's line, there's a system that they're supposed to be playing together when they do that. And his thought process on that is it keeps people teams engaged in the game. So, and then I've heard other people that say that he should change the lines more often. So he gets it from all sides. I understand. I understand his system, what he does. I just think it's kind of difficult to do in this shortened season like this. But I agree with them. If you get a team that can do that, it's a huge advantage. Because if one guy gets injured, he seamlessly goes on to the next guy, moves up there and everything, right?
Yeah, I understand it. I don't necessarily agree with that. I do understand that you do got to do some line changes, and you've got to be able to, I guess, next man up or whatever. But I also feel like the teams that have their lines pretty much together and unity, the more unity that you have and the more practice you have with the same players, I think you're going to get better results.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
He sort of leans to pairs though, like Hopkins and McDavid, and or Cahoon. I think he's going with Draisaitl right now. He sort of keeps those pairs together and then switches up the people on the other wings. And if he finds a line that just gets really hot, he'll roll with them for a long time. So it's a little different approach, but it's worked for him in the past when he was with Arizona. He brought a lot of teams in Arizona to the playoffs that shouldn't have been there. So I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt for now, but we'll see what happens down the road here. If
I
some,
was just curious with you being a fan of what you thought about that because I can't remember where I saw the article in that, but they were saying the fan base was really getting frustrated with them changing it up all the time, and I was just wondering what your opinion was on that.
Yeah, Oilers fans like to get frustrated a lot too, though. So
don't we all?
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so we'll go now to. Well, there's only one pick for tomorrow night or tonight, whenever anybody's listening to this, and that's why we went at great length as to how we looked at our picks from before, because I wanted everybody to get an idea of how much time and how we look at our picks and how we come to um, how we understand what we're doing, or what our knowledge is behind what we do, reasons. So now with that, I'm going to give it as a free pick to everybody today. The Senators versus the Canucks, since there's only one pick. So with everything we just talked about, what do you got? Do you have a lean on this game at all?
I do. I believe it's the same lane that you have. I would be all over the Canucks. But I tell you, a lot of people when they first glance, this isn't much of a game to watch, but I actually think it's going to be a very exciting game. I think there's a lot of build-up. You've got two Stanley Cup previous goalie winners playing against each other that I don't think have played each other in about 2 years, but was a pretty fierce rivalry for a while. And Murray and Holtby, which is the projected goalies for tomorrow and everything.
Yeah, Murray and Holtby's projected. We'll see if that does, because I do believe Murray almost for sure, because Ottawa played Hogberg the last game. I can't remember who that was against, but they lost. Was it? I want to say, was it Toronto? No, it was Winnipeg. The last game was against Winnipeg, and they played Hogberg. So I think that they'll definitely be rolling Murray, unless Murray's kind of struggled, unless they're going to give Hogberg some time to roll and see what he can do, which is possible. He's a young guy, and they want to check out everything they got, but more than likely it's going to be Murray. As far as the Canucks, I think they could go Holtby. I don't know what their percentages are going to be for Holtby and Demko. Demko has not looked the best this year, but it's so hard to judge these goaltenders when Vancouver's played 7 games in 10 nights and had injuries to Hamonic and Edler, and really just had a lot of kids playing. So goaltenders can look bad when defenses aren't doing what they're supposed to, or they're doing things unexpected for the goaltender, right?
Yeah. I can say this, so, and I would tell anybody, to listen to anything I have to say. I wouldn't go run into the window with anything until you know what your goalie confirmations are. And in the hockey, it's getting to be like baseball, where they're not wanting to say who the goalie is till the last minute. So I would definitely keep an eye out on your goalies and make sure you have a confirmation before you place any hard-earned money on any game out there.
Yeah. unless of course they just really have two strong goaltenders like Arizona has Ranta and Kemper, and there's almost not much. There's almost not much difference between the two, assuming Ranta's not injured, which is 50% of the time. But yeah, I agree. And it really bugs me that coaches wait till game time to change goaltenders. It drives me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't.
Do you think there's a lot of preparation with these teams for goalie? Do you think that's why they're starting to get like baseball and pitchers, where they don't want to reveal who the goalie is at the last minute?
Yeah, they want to kind of surprise the opposition a little bit and throw them off. Maybe that has something to do with it. I think some coaches will even say that they like to get a read on their goaltender all the way up until game time. So they can tell by their face, their actions and stuff. And they have like, especially field coaches that say they go by feel. Mike Keenan was like that. He would say all the time, most of my coaching was by feel. If I get a feel for a goaltender by their energy, the way they're acting, what they're doing, something tips me off that one is better in a better headspace than the other. And he would often wait until game time almost to tell his goaltenders what to do. Another reason why Mike Keenan and other coaches would do stuff like that is they would test their goaltenders to see what their mental strength is. So when you would get to playoff time, Mike Keenan wanted a guy that can be in that space and be able to act in situations that are going to be out of control sometimes. You know what I mean? To be able to react to anything. Mike Keenan coached like that. He used to create controversy so players can learn how to play through controversy. And Tortorella kind of does that too. He's similar to that. I love coaches. You'll get to know as we move on here that I do one of my favorite parts of the game is to watch how coaches are coaching, how they coach, what they do. I get a lot of my leans based on how they do, like you said, Tippett with line matchups. When Tippett's playing certain line matchups, I'll know that he's going to play this type of game against this team. And if that's the case, that'll give me an indication of how the Oilers are going to do that night, because it shows me that he's he's wanting to try his team to play more defensively. Tippett wants you to play every way possible, regardless of the lineup. I don't necessarily agree with that. Like I talked about today, when the Oilers were playing in a trap for the third period with that lineup. Are you crazy? What are you doing? Why would you ever play a trap with Tyson Barrie on the ice? That's ridiculous. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, but he's making the millions as an NHL coach, not me. But I look at it like you're not going to win that way. So, but it gives me an indication of what he's doing that's a lot to how I do my picks. But anyways, Curt, I don't even know how we've been talking here, but I bet you we're running fairly long. This has absolutely been fantastic, though. I've enjoyed it immensely.
Oh, same here. I'm excited. I know got lots of homework. Full schedule. Tuesday, 14 games. So that means 28 teams to do some research on.
Yeah, I am going to. We're going to have a great video for you tomorrow night on potential picks. For sure. I really like that card Tuesday. Most of these teams have got a little bit of rest too, so that's going to make it interesting since there's only one game tonight. It's going to be one of the few nights where we're not seeing back-to-backs and all that kind of stuff like that, which is going to add a new wrinkle and fun to it. So Curtis, tomorrow night, same time, same place. We'll
quick question: the last game, which is tomorrow, we didn't even touch on it. What do you think of the total on that game?
Oh, on the Vancouver. Oh yeah, right. What's the total going to run?
Right now, it's. I just pulled it up on one of the sites that I go on. It's 6.5 right now. It's projected at 6, so looks like Vegas is going up on that. So
I think if it's 6, I go over on that. Vancouver has been having problems defensively. I think they've been the most scored upon team in the league this year. Now they've got some rest. They got Edler back, so that could change the total a little bit. But even if it does, you've got 2 goaltenders that have been playing shaky, and a lot of offense on that Vancouver team. And Ottawa's got people that can score.
I just wondered if renewing a rivalry between 2 previous Stanley Cup goalies would kind of get their blood flowing a little better and out to prove each one's better than the other. But one of the things I would also keep in mind on that game tomorrow, and I think we talked about this earlier, I just happened to look up Vancouver is actually the second most penalized team so far year to date this season too.
Yeah. Again, that's because they've been tired a lot. So, and they've had some rookies out there that are running behind the play. So they've had to drag guys down and hook and stuff like that. And I think you'll see that change as soon as they start getting some rest, and then they can start feeding on some of the other teams that are going through these 7 games in 10 nights. I think you're going to see a different Vancouver team coming the next 10 games or so. I really do.
Me too. I'm excited about Vancouver. I liked them last year, and I definitely like the direction they're going. I definitely think they're a team to watch in the next year or two. I think they're probably another year at least away from making any serious threat into the playoffs. But never know. We'll see.
Yep. Thanks, buddy. So we'll see you tomorrow night, and we'll see all of you guys. Subscribe, hit the bell, come over to Patreon and join the fine program that we have there. We'd love to have you. And have a great day. Lots of love to ya.